Am I okay here? Good? Okay. My daddy was in the service in Canada, and he was stationed in England. And it was really interesting because he would write these love letters to my mother, and they were so strange. They were like, wait, oh my God, Jenny, wait till you see. I think we're going to have it in Canada someday, but they have white bread over here, and it's just white. And anyway, he didn't say it stuck to the roof of their mouth, but I'm sure it did. And then, and he said, and another thing we have is something called margarine, and it's really good because you just have, there's this little orange button, and you just keep pressing it, and pretty soon the whole thing is just like butter, and it tastes like butter. So all of these things will be coming to Canada. Oh, mercy. Anyway, I'm so glad you're all here today. Oh, that was really touching. And what an incredible song that was. That touched all of our hearts. So the abundant soul is what we're going to be talking about, which you all know a lot about. And it's the greatest gift. It's a gift because it knows how to say yes to life. Yes to love, yes to adventure, yes to your own divinity, yes to the magnificence that you see in someone else, yes to the still small voice of God, and yes to your own identity, and yes to being the light of the world. You know, there are many abundant souls in this church with such big, beautiful hearts, and they say yes to life all the time. What examples for me. Anyway, I had been looking for a home for a wonderful dog that used to live in Clarkdale, and he was actually in my home for a while, and he was now in California, near Sacramento, Lincoln, California, and the owner had passed away, and his son and wife couldn't keep the dog. So they said, you must find a home for this dog. We've tried. We've talked to the church that we went to, and no one really wants the dog. So one day I called Susan Allison. If you don't know her, you will know her. She's over here. And I called her, but not about the dog at all. It was about something else. It was actually about, I'll tell you, I was sitting at cricket, and there was a woman in front of me who was spending quite a bit of time asking them about her phone. And I was just sitting there, and I said, oh my God, that's Susan Allison. I can't believe it. And so she hadn't turned around to see me sitting there. And then what happened is she walked out and kind of gave me a dirty look. I said, oh my gosh, what did I do to her? So anyway, I called her right away when I got home, and I said, Susan, didn't you recognize me? And I said, at cricket. And she said, I wasn't even there. I said, oh my God, I was so relieved. And anyway, she said, we just got to talking, and we talked, and I told her that I told her about, she actually knew this dog, Shin, and I said, oh, she needs a home. Maybe you would know of someone. I knew she already had a dog, so she wouldn't be interested. And she said, oh, yeah, I do have a dog. So I said, yes, I know. Anyway, and then she paused, and she said, yes, I will take him. I had called everybody. I had called people in Colorado. I didn't call Canada because they have to have all kinds of shots and everything. And it worked for me when I went through Canada because they would say, is your dog had shots? And I would say, this dog happens to be a Christian Scientist, and I don't know why, but they went for that. And so anyway, and she said, yes, she would take her. I was in awe. I had not expected that because she already had the dog. I gave her the phone number of the son, and I said, just call him. And anyway, he offered to ship the dog to Susan. I thought, how nice, because then she can ship it back if it doesn't get along with her dog, right? And so, but Susan decided that would be very traumatic for the dog. I hadn't thought of that. She's got a big heart. Anyway, so she thought she would go get the dog. That 800 miles was nothing to her. She'd pick the dog up. That is someone with such a big heart, such an abundant soul. And yes, she says yes to the river of life, and she just travels on that river of life and keeps saying yes. So she gave me pictures along the way to see how she was doing. And so now Shin is in the most amazing homes. I went over to visit her, and she was so glad to see me. Anyway, so now she has a horse, she has chickens, she has another doggie, which is the same color as her. And they seem to be getting along. Susan, your heart is so beautiful. And you had faith that those dogs would get along. You had faith that somehow you'd be able to manage on that way home. And to go there, what a big-hearted, abundant soul you have, and I'm so grateful to know you. Abundant souls, they're everywhere. So I didn't know that I had a flat tire the other day, and I blamed it on the bumpy road, and people on the sidewalk were trying to communicate this to me, and I waved back, and I thought, this is the friendliest town I have ever seen. I mean, people just wave at cars going by. And I said, I bet they heard me speak. Maybe they heard me speak at Unity. Anyway, then pretty soon there was lights flashing and honking, and they came up behind me and announced to me that I should pull over. I had a flat tire. I think most people driving would know they had a flat tire. But I just didn't. But before long, a wonderful young man pulled over. And a policeman then pulled over. They came from all sides, and they changed my tire, and I was in awe at this young man. He'd gone to his truck in his old Crown Victoria, a black one. Oh, I love black cars. And I love Crown Victorias. I just love them. I don't think they make them anymore. Anyway, he was so impressed that I knew his car, and I talked about it. And anyway, he pulled out this shiny orange jack. It was so huge. He had just bought it at Walmart, not knowing that it was for me. And anyway, they had that tire fixed in no time. But these gentlemen got down on their backs to look under the car. And the policeman who stopped was in this beautiful uniform. He didn't care because he had an abundant heart. That came first, rather than thinking of messing up his uniform. It's so impressive. So anyway, what abundant souls I got to see. The Hebrews say that the soul needs to be restored, as it is the mind, the feelings, and the will. They knew that a rebellious mind would have rebellious negative emotions. Ever experienced some of that? Anyway, not anymore. Anyway, they would want desires that would eventually bring them misery and lack. They knew a restored soul is an abundant soul with a divine mind, with feelings of joy and peace and love and a generous heart, because you see the will has become one with the will of God. And it's a generous will, it's a generous heart, and a mind that receives intuitions and revelations from God. An abundant soul says yes to life, even though no makes more sense. Myrtle Fillmore said yes to truth and the divine guidance from the center of her soul. When Charles was sick and they were without any funds, she said, you would not have seen anything in that early environment. Myrtle Fillmore, in case you don't know, she's actually one of the founders of the church, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, and what they went through to get us all here today. Anyway, so in that early environment and life of ours, to give peace and happiness, we didn't know where, we didn't have a lot of that, but we came up with it. She said we didn't know where we were to get our food, where were we going to get our clothing, how were we going to pay our debts. There was no evidence of plenty or prosperity. We didn't have anyone that would pray for us. And or to even give us suggestions with truth statements. These things we had to all find out on our own. And but we knew that they were all in the heart of God and that we could access that. Those about us thought us a little off because we talked of God as being our health and our supply, and everybody could see we had nothing. And so we found that God had ways to provide for us. We kept on trusting and we kept on rejoicing in the truth that came to us. You know, it takes an abundant soul to rejoice when it looks like there's nothing. But that's actually what produces everything. She said, we got well, we helped others get well, we found that God had ways to provide for our needs, and we kept on trusting, and we kept on rejoicing in the truth that came to us. And in the beginning, there wasn't anything that came to us as far as supply, but we did have faith, and we did have these open hearts that knew that that was what God was all about, and we just kept trusting. And she said, I love to meditate upon Jesus' illustration, and we did this often, God's provision for us, the illustration of God's provision for us when Jesus was talking about consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. When all of humanity lives in harmony with the providing law of being, man too will be blessed with plenty, without having to toil for the necessities of life. We can learn valuable lessons on every side when our minds are alert. So get busy, she said. She was kind of demanding. She said, now just get busy by using the truth that you know. Love those about you in a practical way. Pay no attention to what others are doing insofar as you making comparisons. Bring forth your own joyous world of love and friendship and beauty and plenty. God is giving everything required to build such a world. There is within you the God-given intelligence to build such a world, so get at it. Don't you love her? I mean, she had such an abundant soul. She started with nothing. That's what I love. And I love to see when they have nothing and they just come forth from God's heart to their heart and start, moving in that place of receiving. Anyway, Myrtle said, when you talk and talk and talk about your hard times, you are sowing hard times seeds. Remember that. If a farmer planted thistle seeds and then complained that no wheat was coming up, you would say, the foolish man, if he wanted wheat, why didn't he sow wheat? You can begin now to bring prosperity into your life, right today, this moment, but you must discard all your words that have in them any ideas of poverty. Speak words of plenty. Do not say money is scarce. That very statement will send money running away from you. Never say that times are hard. These words will tighten your purse strings until omnipotence will be powerless to loosen them. Isn't that good?
That is good.
And I would say, do not say you can't afford something, and that's too expensive. Or we must remember I'm on a fixed income. Oh, do you just love hearing that? I know none of you say that. Oh my gosh. Or do not say, oh, let's go over there. It's so much cheaper. Money will try to escape from you if you do that. I guarantee you. It likes to be where we adhere to what is printed on the money. In God we trust. So that's just how it works. So what abundant souls Charles and Myrtle Fillmore were. They both said yes to life. When life was shouting, no, there isn't enough, when they were trying to recover, Myrtle was preaching and she was saying these things to herself. She said, I'm going to begin right now to talk plenty. I think plenty, and I give thanks for plenty. The spiritual substance out of which visible wealth comes is never depleted. That's a good statement. Did you really get it? I better do it again. The spiritual substance out of which visible wealth comes is never depleted. It is around you this moment. It responds to your faith in it. It has no choice in the matter but to give to you. Its nature is just to give. Even if all the banks close, and this is still Myrtle talking, she said, even if all the banks close in the world, you will have plenty because we're not under the laws of the things of this world. We have to remember that. It's a temptation, though, to think that we are, huh? Anyway, another thing, be deeply grateful for everything. See life giving you treasures poured out to you, even if it's just a bird singing, and the gift of someone smiling at you. Give thanks for every blessing that you gain. This keeps your heart so fresh. Remember, Jesus Christ had only a little supply from which to feed a multitude, and he gave thanks for what he had, and that bread and fish became so much that he had baskets left over. And that was from just thanking God for what was. Blessing has not lost its power since the time when Jesus Christ used it. Try it and prove its efficacy. The same power of multiplication is within you. Praise and thanksgiving have within them the quickening spiritual power that produces growth and increase. Actually, we are in the law of increase. Every single one of us. We're not in the law of attraction. Remember that. If we're in the law of attraction, we're attracting good one day and bad the next. But we are in the law of increase. We're in the law of unfoldment of what God has for us. Never condemn anything in your home. If you want new articles of furniture or clothing to take the place of those which may be at the point of giving out, do not talk about what you have as being old and shabby. Never do that. First thing people will think when they come into your house, oh, kind of old and shabby stuff going on in here. Anyway, so watch your ideas. See yourself clothed as befits a child of the king, and your house furnished as what pleases that king. The truths that are here spoken are energized by the living Spirit. Your mind and heart are now open and receptive to the ideas that will inspire you with the understanding of the potency of your own thoughts and your own words. You are prospered. Your home has become a magnet, drawing to it all good from the unfailing, inexhaustible reservoir of supply. One time a woman came to Myrtle. She said, "Just look at your world, full of friends and peace and prosperity and love and blessings of all kinds. I have nothing." And Myrtle said to her, "Do you realize how you're using your imagination to see my world, compare my world to yours?" She said, "Your imagination is a formative faculty, and look how you are using that mind. That faculty, look how you're using it. You see yourself as friendless without prosperity. Life cannot break through the boundaries that you have all set up for yourself. Your world is sad because you continually think and speak sad thoughts. That's breaking God's law of harmony, love and joy and prosperity. Right now, feel God's presence and look for ways to serve. Let your talents come forth so that the glory of God can show forth in your soul and that you don't have to use words that diminish God's abundance." That was good, huh? Then she went on and she said, she actually talked a lot. I thought it would be Charles that would be doing most of the talking, but no. She said, "When you look with all your seeing, all your discerning eye of faith, you see God's abundance manifesting to meet every need you have. So practice seeing with this inner eye that beholds the eternal verities of being. The more you exercise this eye, that single eye," she didn't say single eye, but I did. The more you exercise this eye, the better you're going to see with it. You would not think of closing your eyes and walking around saying that you can't see and you don't know where you're going. So why close your eyes of omniscience by saying, "I do not know what to do"? Repeatedly affirm that you do know. Operate. I have no patience when people say they don't know. Because what are they doing? They're actually creating more not knowingness. That is the way to make your wisdom work for you and guide you in paths of plenty. When the way seems dark, pray for spiritual illumination. You will become a radiant center of light and joy and optimism. People will want to have what you have. They'll want you to serve them. You will inspire success for others, and they will have confidence in their soul because of you, because you had confidence in your own. Through understanding of spiritual laws, you have a potential gold mine to develop. That's all Myrtle. This is me. When we want a revelation of God more than having supply, we might find that we have supply. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all things will be added to you. It's a good way to go. Sometimes in our homes, we have silent frequencies from our past that can hinder God's vibrant energy from flowing that has to do with, and it will hinder your good, your health, and your relationships, such as expired products laying around. And items, they represent stagnation and neglect and a very low frequency. Maybe you have pictures on the wall of people that wounded you, and your abundant soul may feel that pain. Maybe you have threadbare pillows and sheets and bedding. They accumulate negative energy, screaming, I'm poor, but I'm trying to make do. Makes doo-doo. Anyway, the universe is a place of great abundance. And for us to be experiencing less than abundance means we're literally pushing it away from us. Myrtle's abundant soul knew that there's no such thing as an incurable disease in the body. She goes on to say, anything which does not measure up to the Christ pattern of perfection can be changed. There's nothing in the cell structure of the so-called cancer that will not respond to radiations of love, truth, life, and substance. And then Myrtle said something that she had learned from studying many that had come to her for healing. She said very firmly, cancer usually indicates some secret or unconscious resentment or bitterness towards someone or some condition. I don't know if I'd have the nerve to say that to someone who came to me. Don't you know you've been running around with a lot of resentment and bitterness, but on the outside you're smiling? You know, that's kind of what she was saying. So the appearance shows me an outwardly sweet and submissive, but inwardly hurt, grieved, and intolerant person. That's how she talked. Did all of you know that? Are we following the right people? Anyway, let truth reveal, renew, restore, and make one entirely free. That's Myrtle saying that. Do not speak of disease having power. Begin to rejoice that you are an offspring of God. Declare that the life and substance of your body are the perfect pattern of that. It's just the perfect pattern. Now I'm going to be shifting. If you want to close your eyes, I want to be able to share with you about Mother Mary, because she had an abundant soul and she said yes to life. Mary, the mother of Jesus, said yes to life because she had an abundant soul. When God chose to enter the world, he didn't come as a king with an army or a priest with a scroll. He came through a woman, and her soul said yes. Yes, Mary of quiet strength, of sacred scars, of fierce maternal love and unwavering faith, her soul said yes. Her abundant soul teaches us to let God interrupt our lives and how to bear that interruption with grace. Her soul so abundant that all generations call her blessed. And she says, "Oh, my soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God my Savior." That is a soul that knows the abundant love of God operating. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.